Holly, good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining me on the show today, and welcome to the All Around Adventure podcast.
Hello, thank you very much for having me, Josh.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to this conversation. Every now and then, Instagram does show me really cool things in my scrolling, and one of them was actually one of your reels where you were actually like in the temple in China, training hard, getting after it. I'm like, oh, that's really cool. Let me look into this, and then come to find out, yeah, it's just you are going back and forth to China quite a bit. You're originally from the UK. So kind of tell us a little bit about how you kind of got started down that path of training in Kung Fu.
So this is a little bit of a crazy story because I only actually started training in Kung Fu from November 2024. But since I've started, I've not stopped training. So I train every day. I train 6 times a week. When I'm in China, I'll train for 6 hours a day. And when I'm in England, I'll train 2 to 3 hours a day. But I have been kind of doing this intense training for the last 5 years. But martial arts really came only kind of middle of 2024, really. So, yeah, it's been quite exciting. I basically really wanted to go and live in a temple for some time, but I'm really into my running and my swimming. And I was more of a triathlete before. So I was doing that 6 times a week and running just rapid all the time. I was living in Germany. And between moving from Germany and England, I decided I wanted to go to China to live in a temple. But I thought, well, I can't just live in a temple on top of the mountain. I need to do some sport. And Kung Fu kind of found me. So I was looking for a Kung Fu school. And I just thought, are they going to accept a foreigner in the Kung Fu school? Are they going to accept a woman? And I wrote to them in both English and then I translated it into Chinese. And I actually got a response. And I now have a Kung Fu master out in China that I have a really good relationship with. And I'll go and stay at the school as often as I can. So, I've just got back from China and I'm going again next month in the middle of September to do some more very intensive training. So yeah, it's definitely a lifestyle, and it's definitely, you have to be extremely disciplined and extremely committed. But yeah, it's my life now. So yeah, I'm very excited to be able to talk to you about it, really.
Now, have you been to China like prior to your starting your Kung Fu training, or was it going to China to begin your Kung Fu training the first time you've actually visited the country?
Yeah, no, I hadn't been to China before. So I've traveled around the world a lot. So I've done India, I've been to Africa, I've done Australia. My father lives in Australia. And I have actually been to the US a few times working in summer camps. So I've done a lot of the world. I've done Japan, Singapore, lots of Asia. I lived in Thailand for a bit. But I've never been to China. So China, that was the first time I've ever been to China. And I couldn't speak any Chinese. I can speak quite good Chinese now. But it was my first ever time. And for some reason, when I found Kung Fu, every day for about 6 months, I woke up thinking, I have to go to China to learn Kung Fu. And my friend said, oh, Holly, why don't you go back to Japan? You loved Japan. Why don't you try, Taekwondo or something? And I was just adamant it had to be Kung Fu. And we didn't really know how it came to me. But, I think maybe I saw something on a website or online. But for some reason, every day I woke up for about 6 months thinking I have to go to China to learn Kung Fu. Until that thought really became so strong, I had to do it. And now here I am.
So making your way over to China for the first time to begin your training, like what was kind of like going through your mind at the time? Because of course, with you being from the UK originally, I'd imagine it's quite different, very, very different culture. I'm sure their cities are probably like very large and bustling and everything like that. So just what was kind of just like your sensory experience? Like what was your thoughts when you landed there for the first time and, just tried getting yourself settled when you first went there?
Oh, what a great question. So I suppose, yeah, China's so different from the UK and from the Western world. And it's not just about how different it is. It's just different in terms of culture, the people, the way people talk to each other. The food's very different. I'm now a vegetarian. So for me, actually, the first part was actually trying to be able to communicate and say, hey, I don't eat meat. That was a difficult one to be able to do. But what was amazing was lots of people aren't used to seeing foreign people in parts of China, that especially the rural parts where I was. So I'm a very tall woman. I'm 5'10", which is 178 centimeters. And I've got quite a lot of big, thick hair. So I look very different from sort of, an Asian person. And they absolutely loved that there was a foreigner amongst them. And so you would often have people wanting to take photos with you simply because you were different and in a rural area. I found China really welcoming. I loved it really. And for me, my favorite part is the temples. They have amazing culture, amazing history and heritage in China. It's really a real magical place, but it is very busy in the major cities. So you've got lights everywhere and sounds everywhere. It's almost like New York, but in another world, parallel universe. It's an amazing place. So I would recommend anyone to go there to visit. And of course, you've got ancient walls like the Great Wall of China, or the structure in Xi'an, which used to be the ancient city capital of China, and that's amazing. So the buildings are really sensational. Yeah.
So similar question when you actually arrived at the temple to start training, because I'm sure that being there for the first time, you want to make like a really good impression. And of course, you're trying to like fit in quite a bit as well, too. So what was that like arriving there for the first time? And kind of going along with what you mentioned earlier about some of the concerns you had, being a foreigner and also being a woman, what kind of segued out that way? Did you see like other foreign students there? Did you see other women there? What was that like?
So what's really interesting about my school in particular is it's actually the other side of the Songshan mountain. So you've got these amazing, beautiful mountains in the middle of the Henan province. And the other side of the mountains is the Shaolin temple. And that's known as the birthplace of Kung Fu. And you've got other temples around like the Fawang temple, which the school I think they used to train some of the boys anyway. But my school is on the other side of the mountain. So it's in a really rural location, a little bit outside of the city of Dengfeng. So you have to get a taxi 20 minutes out to get there. And it's amongst some dirt tracks, and the school kind of appears out of nowhere in the mountains. And when I first went there, it was quite rare for foreigners to go there because it only started accepting foreigners that year. So there were only a handful of us, maybe 8 of us. Yeah, and it was mostly boys. And I met 2 other girls whilst I was there. One of them actually is going to come and visit me next week from Switzerland. So, we really made these kind of lifelong friendships. But my favorite part was you're thrown into this tiny school with about 15 or 16 teenage Chinese boys, and you're training every day with these boys. And they are incredible at Kung Fu from the ages of 8 to 18, these boys are. And they don't speak a word of English. The master doesn't speak a word of English. So you have to sort of communicate in, basic ways if you can't speak the language. So since I left and went back again, I made sure that I taught myself Chinese every day. And I loved living with the boys. So you're in these little dorms on these metal beds. It's very, very basic. The bedding is like cardboard. It's about, really thin. So it's not a comfortable setting. And it's, there's no seats to sit on when you're having your breakfast, lunch and dinner. It's rice for every meal, or noodles, or like on a special occasions, jiaozi, which is dumplings. But, it's literally rice for breakfast every day for a month. And then for lunch as well with some celery. And then, I don't eat meat, so I have to put the meat out to the side. So sometimes you lose quite a lot of weight because you're also training 7 hours a day. But you then bond with the other boys and the other people there. Because, for them, it was the first time they'd ever had women at the school. So it was like, oh my goodness, at first they wouldn't speak to me. But then I ended up teaching them English. And I now am their English teacher. And the last time I went, there was a new student, and he said to them, like, oh, who is she? And they went, she's our English teacher. As if it was the most normal thing in the world, which I loved because, I spend a lot of time with the children, and I miss them very much when I'm gone. And they'll write to me on WeChat, which is like the equivalent of WhatsApp in China. And, I let them know how I'm doing and things like that. So it's like a little family out there. But as time's gone on, the popularity of the school has increased. And now we're getting a lot more foreigners coming to the school, which is fun and exciting. And it's always good to meet new faces and get people training.
So lots of training volume, like you mentioned, 6, 7 hour days of training. So how do they go about filling those days and like that those training time blocks? I mean, because I'm sure there's a variety of things that you do, and because I mean, I haven't practiced kung fu myself. Of course, I'm a martial artist, so I'm trying to think: do they have like forms and katas? Probably weapons practice thrown in there too. Yeah. So how do they kind of structure that?
Yeah, you're exactly right. We have our, it depends whether it's winter or summer, and we kind of change it because the temperatures are vastly different. So, for example, when I was there in November, December time, it was like -7 degrees in the morning. So we would then put it back an hour, so it would only be -4 when you started training. So I'm thinking, what's -4 in Fahrenheit? I think it's about 84. Is that right?
No, -4 in the wintertime, that would be probably about like 20 degrees, maybe something like that, 25. So, because zero in Celsius is 32 freezing.
Oh,
So,
really?
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, here it is. So -7 degrees is 20 degrees Fahrenheit. So in wintertime, it's 20 degrees Fahrenheit. And in
I was close.
summertime, yeah, yeah. In summertime, it reached, when I was there in May, it got to 40 degrees Celsius one day, which is, I think,
Over 100
100,
here.
yeah, 100 and something,
Hmm.
104 degrees Fahrenheit.
Really hot.
Um,
We'll just put it that
so
way.
very, very, very hot. So you can get an idea of the difference between the winter and the summer, and the kind of how brutal the training is in that sort of temperature. So in summer, we get up at 5:20, whistle goes at 5:30. And when the whistle goes, that means you've got to line up, you've got to be ready on time, you've got to be in your kit, lined up for the master to come. So then the master comes, and then we'll all walk down to the courts, and we'll do 5:40 a.m. till 6:40 a.m., breakfast at 7, and then you have a little break between 7:30 and 8:30, and then 8:30 whistle goes. 8:40 to 11:40 is the next session. Lunch is at 12, and then you have a lunch break between 12:30 and 2:30, where usually most people have to nap. And it's encouraged to take a nap during this time because you've already done 4 hours of exercise and you've got 3 hours more to go. So you can also do some extra training. So sometimes I'll, do some of my own training that I want to practice, just to prepare myself if I'm not absolutely exhausted. And then you have a nap, and then 2:30 till 5:30, you've got training again. We often wrap up at 5:15, and then dinner's at around 6:30. And then you finish dinner at 7, and then I'll then prepare English classes because I teach English. And then from 7:40 to 8:40 p.m., I'll teach English. And then it's 9 p.m. And then by that point, you finally get to have a shower at 9 p.m. Well, I do anyway. Everyone else showers earlier. And then by that point, it's 9:30 and it's time for bed. So they're very, very full on days. And sometimes you're just so exhausted because it's this every day. And there's different sort of drills depending on what day it is. So, for example, Tuesday is, for some reason, a particularly stressful day. And if the master's going to be really strict because you just, by the way, when he arrives, you're going to get feasted. And he will not refrain from hitting your legs with a stick if you're not standing properly. But I spoke to him about this and said, "Oh, if you think it's worth me getting hit with a stick, if you think that's going to improve my form, I trust in your teaching, and I'll take it as long as you think it's going to help me improve." So it's just about having trust in your teachers and that, really. Yeah.
So when I look at other martial arts styles, of course, a lot of them have belt ranks that a student can progress to kind of sort of mark and, sort of measure their progress. Is there a similar system like that in Kung Fu as well? I've never actually looked into it that closely before.
Do you know what? I don't know for China. I know for, the Western world that we've developed our own belt system in the Western world, because my Shaolin teacher here in the UK has also just reintroduced in our school here in Bristol a belt system. And that was not something that I was familiar or aware of before. So I know that there are I do Lao Ga Kung Fu as well as Shaolin Kung Fu. And I know they have a belt system in Lao Ga Kung Fu. But my main focus is Shaolin Kung Fu. So that's the one I do 5 times a week. I only do Lao Ga once a week, as well as kickboxing. But yeah, I think there is probably in the Western world a system. But I think when it actually comes to culturally, I don't think there is belts in China. I think there's levels of, okay, when you're recognized as a student as being able to perhaps become a master, then your master will say, I think you have it in you to become a Kung Fu master. And then you can really go into that rigorous training. But the level to actually become a Kung Fu master is so high and so incredible. You have to just be so incredible. It would take decades. And, you know, most these boys, for example, that I train with, they've been doing it since they were 8 years old, 7 hours a day. And a lot of them won't be good enough to become Kung Fu masters. Maybe 2 of them will become good enough, but not all of them. So it's a very grueling process. Yeah, and there's thousands of Kung Fu schools in China. So yeah, it really is a lifestyle.
So you post a lot of content on your Instagram showcasing your training and everything like that. Because I know much of your mission, as you've discussed with me before we hit record here, is to try to, excuse me, inspire more people like through fitness, through sport, and things like that. So how did they receive you when you decided that, you know, you wanted to bust out your camera, you wanted to film and everything like that? Were they pretty open to you doing that, or were they maybe a little bit resistant at first? How did that all play out?
This is actually a great story because I didn't take any of the videos. So I only started this account 2 months ago. I only started making the videos 2 months ago. So the account's kind of popped off quite a lot. It's gone quite viral quite quickly, which was, you know, really lovely. But before, there is my master has his own account that, you know, another foreigner that kind of goes really regularly has helped him set up. And I said to him, do you think I should make an account? And I asked my master and basically got his blessing. I said, do you think? I said, I've been thinking for a while because I only started it 2 months ago and I've been thinking about it for like 8 months. And I said to him, do you think I should start an account because I want to encourage people to take up sport for their mental and physical well-being? And I was thinking maybe Instagram might be a good way to do this. Do you think this is a good idea? And he said, Fei Cheng Hen Hao. And to me, that is the biggest blessing, because if you do something good, he'll say how, which means good. And that means amazing. If he says that to you, you've done something really good. If he says hen hao, that means you've done really well. Like he's very rare to give out compliments. He doesn't give them. So when he said Fei Cheng Hen Hao, that means excellent. That is like ultimate. So for me, that was the confidence I needed to start the channel. For him to say, yeah, I give you my blessing. This is an amazing idea. You should do it. And I was lucky because the last time I went to China, there was another girl there and she had her phone out the whole time. And I don't take my phone to training. I don't do anything with my phone. I didn't touch my phone for the month. And she was recording everything. And I'm quite a strong woman. So I think they were quite amazed. And they you know, some of them had seen me before from, you know, online or other videos. And so a few people were recording me. And at first I was like, oh, this is a bit weird. People are recording me. But then I was like, you know what, whatever. They're having a nice holiday. They can record me fine. And then at the end of the 6 weeks, she said to me, oh, actually, Holly, I've got loads of great videos of you. And she sent me all these amazing videos. And I was like, oh, my goodness, I have enough footage here to make a whole Instagram account. So then I was like, okay, why not then? And so, yeah, she sent me all the videos, and from all those videos she took. But I probably need to start making more videos as well and do that a bit more often. But it was amazing that, you know, it's great that people can share this. And I realized it's such a good way to encourage people and inspire people to do sport, and not just martial arts, but any sport, to train in general. And this is something that on my personal account, I used to kind of push to my friends and be like, right, you know, go running, go swimming, go cycling. And I really wanted to help inspire and encourage people to do exercise, because I've seen how it can really benefit your mind, your body, and your life in general, how much it can improve your happiness. And it's all about being healthy and happy. And Kung Fu is such a visual sport, as it were. It's such a, you know, the discipline is so beautiful and the temples are so gorgeous. It just seemed to resonate with a lot of people having this content. And so when I noticed in the first few videos that people were really taking it on board, then I thought, okay, I'll keep on going with this. And and now I'm sharing my story of Kung Fu online.
So, what is like the current ratio right now with you being at home in the UK and then you being in China? It seems like it's split fairly evenly a little bit, but where do you think you are spending the most time? I would assume at home still, as you're still kind of getting going on this journey. But what's that currently looking like for you?
Well, I only actually moved back to England in January. so, I've kind of, I was in Germany before, and then I visited my dad in Australia. Then I was in China for a month. Then I was only in England for 3.5 months until I was like, no, I can't do it. And I ended up messaging my master saying, can I come tomorrow? And I flew the next day to China for 6 weeks. So that was good. And then I got back for a month. I was hoping to go this month back to China, but my brother is getting married. So I have to be in the country for the wedding, of course. But I nearly kind of thought, oh, I'll just go for like a couple of weeks or something. But no, I'm trying to be good. I'm trying to wait. So right now it's been quite an even split in the last year. But also in Germany, because I have an office in Germany that I work in, and then I used to live in Germany. So between Germany, England, and China, I've probably been a third in each country. But probably now mostly England. I think it's just tipped to England. But then, it depends how long I'll be in China for again, whether it evens out. But my plan is, in the long term, I would like to spend more time in China. We'll see what happens and, see if I can make that work. Yeah.
So, what current goals do you have with your kung fu training? Have you like laid out like benchmarks down the line that you want to make it to, or is really just kind of the plan right now? Just keep training consistently, just kind of just let yourself develop naturally just through those actions. What's that looking like?
That is a really good question. I have a few goals in mind. I would like to eventually teach Kung Fu. I think that's something that I would like to eventually do. But for me at the moment, I want to really focus on my training. So for me right now, the next 6 to 12 months is just improving. And this is why I train so relentlessly. It's because to be good at Kung Fu, you have to be really into your training. You have to really give it your all. And I'm still learning. I'm still on that journey of learning and training and developing. And I have an extremely high level of fitness, which I'm very lucky to have, but I have to maintain that. I mean, this week alone, I think I've ran about 57 kilometers because I did my half marathon on Tuesday. And then I just ran this morning, just a little 7 kilometers. And then last week I was meant to do my half marathon, but then my friend couldn't quite make it the whole way around. So we only did, I think, 18 kilometers. I'm trying to add up as much sport as possible. And then on top of that, I'm doing my 5 times a week in Shaolin Kung Fu. I get private gymnastics training on Sundays. I do kickboxing on Wednesdays, Lao Gar Kung Fu on Wednesdays, and occasionally go swimming on a Tuesday. But for me, keeping training is the most important thing. And reading about Kung Fu, the values, and kind of living that lifestyle is really important for me. And then in the future, I would probably like to go into Kung Fu more seriously and see whether I can make it a bit more of my lifestyle as well. Well, it is my lifestyle, but just not just my personal life, make it my whole life. But there's exciting news coming on that. But I'm hoping to do some work in Kung Fu soon, and I've got a few leads. So that's sort of TBC, but maybe that's a exciting thing to announce in the future when it happens.
What about competition? I'm not sure how Kung Fu competitions are structured, but has that something that's caught your interest at all?
I've heard in the UK that a lot of competitions have stalled since COVID. So I don't know of any competitions as such that are happening at the moment, but I know that there's a lot going on in the US from what I see online. That's potentially something that I could think about in the future. But right now, I love going to my classes. I have a fantastic teacher in the UK as well, and actually, someone the other day commented on my Instagram. Someone from Canada and America. Both of them said, "Oh, you must find this person. They're the best Shaolin teacher in the whole of Europe." And I said, "Yep, I train with them 4 times a week." So I felt really lucky that I've definitely found the right person in the UK to teach me, as well as having a fantastic master in China. So I've got the best teachers and I've got the best friends in my Kung Fu club as well that really inspire me to keep going. And they're really supportive of my lifestyle and my choices to train super hard in Kung Fu. So in terms of competitions and stuff, while it's not on my radar right now, that's something that I could probably be persuaded to do in the future.
Well, like you mentioned, your Instagram account has been growing very significantly since you started. I mean, heck, you already had someone all the way out here in Texas, in the U.S., invite you to be a guest on his podcast. So, for those of you who aren't following you yet, if they're tuning in, where can they go to connect with you?
So it's called Holly Confused, which is a good name, I think, and that's on Instagram. And I've just started a TikTok as well. And I think quite a few different platforms have shared some of my content. Gladiators just shared it, which is quite cool. And a news source called Oddball also reached out to me to share one of the videos too, with one of the, I think it was the iron bar break they wanted to share. Which is quite exciting. So, I'm getting picked up on lots of things all the time. And it's definitely, caught a lot of attention. So I'm hoping that it's going to inspire and encourage people to get training and get outside and get their bodies moving.
All right. Well, I'll have links to your Instagram and your TikTok in the show notes for this episode. Or if we have people watching us talk on YouTube, it'll be down in the description below. They can just go there and click away and find you that way. All right. Well, Holly, unfortunately, we don't have a whole lot of time. I'm sure we can really get into the, some pretty gritty details about your journey. So maybe we'll do a part 2 down the line. But as we start wrapping up our current conversation, though, I have a few more standard questions that I like to ask all my guests who come on the show. And so, of course, you're going to get asked these as well. And the first thing I'd like to ask my guests to do is issue a challenge to our listeners and viewers, because we got to hear some great stories from you today. We got to get some great information from you today as well. But as I always say, stories, information, inspiration can really only take our listeners and viewers so far. They themselves have to go and follow up with action when they're done listening to us talk. So with that, what challenge would you issue to our listeners and viewers today for them to go out there and start living a more adventurous life?
Buy a pair of trainers or sneakers or runners, depending on what you call them, and do your first 5K. Get out there and do your first 5K. Do it outside, in the wildlife, in nature, in the sunshine, even in the rain, and just run 5 kilometers. If you can just start with that, even if it's really slow, and then if you gradually increase that, but running is your entry into sport, fitness, lifestyle. And the more you do that, the easier and easier it will get. So run a 5K.
All right. Awesome. Outstanding. All right. So what I have next for you is my final 3. These are 3 fun questions. At least I like to think that they're fun questions. That may be subjective, that I ask all my guests at the end of the show as well. And the first of these 3 questions is, and I think I might already know how you're going to answer, and that is, what is your favorite place that you've been to so far?
Oh, the Fawang Temple, actually. So that's a particular temple around the corner from my school in China. And even though everyone thinks the Shaolin Temple is the most amazing temple there, I prefer the Fawang Temple. It's quieter. I have a friend who's a monk there, and actually he wrote to me the other day to ask me how I was, which is so sweet. But yeah, I train there sometimes because it's a lot more quiet. And it's beautiful, and there's 5 tiers of temples, and it's just gorgeous. So a lot of my videos are set in that temple, actually.
Awesome. And the next of these 3 questions, what is one thing on your bucket list that you have yet to do?
Oh, that is a fantastic question. I would like to do the Inca Trail in Peru. I haven't done South America yet, and I've climbed Mount Fuji. I've been skydiving. I've been bungee jumping, but I would really like to, do like the Inca Trail. I'm also a professional scuba diver, which lots of people don't realize. So one of the things I'd like to do is, I did actually go to Indonesia to try and dive with manta rays, and sadly it was so choppy that they couldn't get the boat out. So I still would like to dive with manta rays. That's still on my list. Yeah.
Okay, quick question on that. Do you like shipwreck diving? Because that's kind of sort of my bread and butter. Like I told you, I'm an archaeologist.
Oh yeah. Shipwreck diving is amazing. It can be quite scary though, because if you're penetrating the wreck itself, if you've got like a license to wreck dive, then actually going into these small spaces, you've got to be really controlled with your breathing to make sure you're not going to float up or, or hit the sides or anything, because these are really old ships often. But a lot of the time, the ships have been sunk to create artificial reefs. But you get all sorts of wildlife in shipwrecks. So yeah, wreck diving is amazing. Yeah.
And the last of these three questions, and this is a two-parter. What is your favorite animal, and have you seen this animal in the wild?
Oh, I have quite a few favorite animals, and I've been lucky enough to see all of them in the wild, actually. So one of my favorite animals is a whale shark. So hence the scuba diving. I think they're really majestic. One of my favorite animals is an orangutan. And I purposely I'm a really big believer. I don't go to zoos. So I purposely don't go to zoos because I believe animals should be seen in the wild. So a lot of my travel is to actually see wild animals in the wild. And orangutans are just amazing creatures. And there's a place called Sepalok where they have a sanctuary there. So orangutans will only go in the jungle and go to the sanctuary if they haven't got food. So if you go to the sanctuary and there's no orangutans, it's actually a good thing because it means that they found food themselves. The last one, probably elephants. I love elephants. And I also love lions. I think lions are pretty cool. So I love all the animals. But those are like four of my favorites. Yeah.
All right. Well, I certainly will say this: whale sharks and orangutans are first to come up on the podcast. No other guest has brought those animals up before. So very cool. And I think I might have seen orangutans. One of the places I really want to go to that I haven't been to yet is Borneo, and I do think they have orangutans there. Maybe.
Yes. So that's where I was. Yeah. So there's Indonesia and Eastern Malaysia, and then Borneo is in between those two countries. And that's where Sepalok is. And that's the only place I was going to ask about that. In the wild. Yeah. So that's exactly why I went there, specifically to see orangutans. Yeah.
All right. Awesome. All right. Well, Holly, that's it. That's all the questions that I have for you today. But before we call it a day here, let's just recap one more time where our listeners and viewers can go connect with you. So I know Instagram's your big platform. And like you said, you got started on TikTok as well. So how can we find you and connect with you?
So please visit me on Holly Confused, and I'm sure there'll be a website sooner or later. So if you type in Holly Confused, then I'll definitely come up. And I hope you are encouraged to start sports and get training.
All right. And like I mentioned, it'll be linked up in the show notes below or in the description below if we have viewers that are watching us talk on YouTube. All right. Well, Holly, I want to thank you very much for taking the time for joining me today. I mean, I know you've been on the go quite a bit, and we've had to kind of work out this time difference between us. But it was really great to have you here. And I also just must say, I just appreciate, how you're showing up in the world too. Of course, just with your own relentless pursuit, and then how you're encouraging other people to pursue health and wellness in their own lives. I think it's a very important mission and very necessary in this day and age. So thank you so much for being here today and sharing your story and insight with myself and the listeners. This has been great.
Thank you so much. It's been great to be on the platform with you.
All right, right on.